Off the top here at 6, right now there is a massive manhunt in Worcester. Local, state, federal police searching for 58-year-old Karen Solomon in connection to the death of an off-duty Worcester police officer. That officer's body was found at Solomon's home.
We have blood on the back door and he's covered completely in blood. Looks like a laceration to the neck.
Investigators have not confirmed how Solomon died. Today, police releasing that video of their suspect appearing to have been recorded about 10 minutes after the first 911 call, while warning the public she's presumed to be armed and dangerous.
5:35 in the morning. A neighbor's Ring camera on Westcott Street in Worcester, Massachusetts, catches 12 seconds of footage that federal investigators are probably still tearing apart frame by frame. A woman walks into view. Pajama shorts, a tank top, flip-flops. She isn't running. She isn't checking behind her. Her pace is steady. And inside the home she just walked out of, on Wildwood Avenue, a 31-year police veteran is dying on the floor. The woman walking away is his wife, Karen Solomon, and as of right now, she has completely vanished. When you watch that footage, it messes with your head. People are tearing this video apart online right now, and everyone is split. Half of them look at her and say she looks completely out of it, like she's in a massive state of shock, just wandering away, trying to process whatever nightmare just happened inside that house. But the other half thinks she is already on the run, and when you find out what she actually did for a living, and how much she knew about police tactics, that second theory gets a lot harder to ignore. When police secured the scene, they found Kurt's service weapon untouched. It wasn't a shooting. On Friday afternoon, Worcester Police Chief Paul Saucier confirmed what many suspected. Kurt's fatal injuries were caused by a sharp object, a close-quarters end to a 31-year veteran of the force. Kurt Solomon was 57 years old. He had given 31 years of his life to the Worcester Police Department. He was a U.S. Army veteran, a man who spent 3 decades on the streets making split-second threat assessments as a matter of routine. He grew up on Wildwood Avenue. He lived his entire life in that neighborhood. His obituary remembered him as an avid golfer, a fisherman, a guy with a genuine sense of humor who loved the community he never left. Chief Saucier called him a hell of a guy. His union president Thomas Duffy stood at a press conference and said losing Kurt was like losing a family member.
Kurt was a hell of a guy. He was an awesome police officer and an awesome person.
He left behind 2 sons, Nicholas and Brandon, his mother Shirley, his brothers Carl and Eric, and his dog, Merle. Let's be real for a second. When a police chief stands in front of cameras and keeps his answer that short about a sharp object, he isn't just at a loss for words. He is protecting a specific detail about how this happened, because the investigation isn't ready for the public to have it yet. Whatever happened inside that house happened before a highly trained military veteran could even get to his gun. The confrontation was sudden, close quarters. It gave a man who spent his entire career reading dangerous situations 0 time to react. We don't even know exactly how the sharp object was used. Was he caught completely off guard in a moment of total vulnerability? That tells me police are holding back the most important piece of this puzzle. Because how do you get the drop on someone like Kurt unless he completely trusted the person standing in front of him? At 5:28 a.m., a 911 call came in from the Wildwood Avenue home. Dispatchers logged it as a medical emergency, a person down. But when first responders arrived, they walked into a violent crime scene and found Kurt Solomon dead. Now here is where it gets complicated. The 911 call came in at 5:28. Karen was already a quarter-mile away by the time that call even connected, captured on a neighbor's camera at 5:35, still walking, which means she was out of that house before the call was ever made. So who made it? Worcester County District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. confirmed at a press conference on August 18th that Karen was not the only one there that morning. His exact words, "There were other people involved at the house as well. Someone else was inside that house. Someone who saw what happened, picked up the phone, described it as a medical emergency, and stayed while Karen walked out the door." Who that person is has not been publicly disclosed. What they witnessed, what they told investigators, what their role was in any of this, none of it has been released. The DA cited Massachusetts domestic violence privacy rules and offered nothing beyond that single confirmation. But think about what that means. Karen was gone before the call was even placed. Someone else stayed, and that person has not been named in a single piece of public record since August 18. Now we get to the part of this story that completely changes how you look at everything else.
I'm Karen Solomon with Blue Help, and I'm here to support #WalkTheBridge. Once a month, a group gets together and walks the bridge between Rowlett and Rockland, Texas, to raise awareness for first responder and veteran suicide. They're an amazing group doing amazing things, so we want to say thank you very much for what you do.
Karen Solomon wasn't just a civilian who happened to be married to a cop. She sat on an FBI task force. She co-chaired the Data and Research Committee of the National Consortium on Law Enforcement Suicide Prevention. She participated in federal committee work implementing the Law Enforcement Suicide Data Collection Act. She lobbied Congress. Since 2014, Karen had been writing books and building organizations around one specific subject: how police officers process trauma, how they respond to crisis, and how law enforcement operates when things break down. Her books, Hearts Beneath the Badge and The Price They Pay, documented law enforcement suicide, the families it destroyed, and the officers who felt they had nowhere to turn. She co-founded First HELP and Blue HELP to try to close that gap. In that world, she was a nationally recognized figure.
I'm going to write a book, and I'm going to tell some stories about all the good things that people forget they do.
As Worcester police continue to search for Karen, they are mourning the loss of one of their own. Kurt Solomon was a patrol officer for 3 decades.
Karen Solomon co-founded First Help, an organization that raises awareness about suicide and mental health among law enforcement. Seen here previously speaking to NBC Boston about her work.
After hearing one story from a widow, I just decided we needed to do something.
Her whereabouts now high priority for police while they mourn the loss of a fellow officer.
Kurt was a loved and respected member of our department with 31 years. Today we lost a member of our family.
She also understood, with real precision, how police move in the first hour after a 911 call. Not theoretically. She spent years interviewing active officers about it. She knew how a search perimeter gets established in a residential neighborhood. She knew how K-9 units deploy. She knew the blind spots in a crisis response that most people never think about. Jeffrey McGill, a former Florida sheriff's deputy who Karen had interviewed for one of her books more than a decade ago, told reporters this week he has absolutely no way to reconcile what's happening with the woman he knew. He was completely stunned. And here's the thing you have to sit with. Spending over a decade absorbing other people's worst moments, listening to cops describe their trauma, tracking suicides, sitting with shattered families year after year, it does something to a person. It either wears them down completely until something finally breaks, or it builds a very specific kind of knowledge. The kind that tells you exactly how much of a head start you need before the street gets locked down. Which version of Karen was walking down Westcott Street at 5:35 in the morning? If you dig into public records, you find something else sitting quietly underneath all of this. In 2016, the Solomons filed for bankruptcy together. This is in the court record. Think about what their lives looked like from the outside. A decorated patrol officer and a nationally recognized advocate lobbying Congress. The kind of couple the law enforcement community holds up as proof the work is being done. And privately, they were under serious financial strain. Bankruptcy isn't just paperwork. It is a grinding, daily kind of pressure that doesn't leave when you close the front door behind you. Financial stress at that level, sustained over years while publicly maintaining a very specific image, doesn't just quietly disappear. You have to wonder whether there were things happening inside that marriage that nobody in their professional circle was close enough to see. Because things like this don't happen overnight. There is always a buildup. At first, police described Karen as wanted for questioning. Then on August 21, Chief Saucier announced that an arrest warrant had been issued for Karen Solomon on charges of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon causing serious bodily injury. Armed and dangerous. Something happened in those 48 hours that moved investigators from, "We need to talk to her," to, "We have enough to charge her." Something came out of the lab, or the digital records, or the search warrant return on the house.
Police announced that they have issued an arrest warrant for Solomon on a charge of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon with serious bodily injury. Paperwork shows that warrant was issued on Wednesday. Solomon's husband, Kurt, a 31-year veteran of the police department here in Worcester, was found dead on Tuesday. Investigators say they believe Karen Solomon is armed and dangerous.
We will not stop until we find her. either way, here or somewhere else, and we want to bring closure to the Solomon family.
Saucier didn't say what. The DA didn't say what. Nobody has explained publicly what crossed that line. The warrant exists. The charge is named. And Worcester PD has said nothing about what put it there. Now here's the part that nobody has a clean answer for. A 58-year-old woman leaves on foot just before 5:35 in the morning. Pajama shorts. Flip-flops. No car. No phone recovered at the scene. Moving through a densely populated neighborhood in a mid-sized Massachusetts city, where she is not a stranger to anyone. She should have been found within the hour. That's not an opinion. That's how perimeter containment works. She wasn't. What Worcester police assembled in response was not standard missing person protocol. The Worcester PD, Massachusetts State Police, the U.S. Marshals Service, Homeland Security Investigations, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and the FBI all converged on a 2.5-mile radius around the home. A CBP helicopter flew grid patterns overhead. Divers went into Coes Pond, a 20-acre reservoir directly behind the West Side Animal Clinic, where Karen appeared on a second camera at just after 5:40 a.m., about a mile from the house. Side-scan sonar swept the water. Drones covered the wooded hillsides. K-9 units worked the ground. The city closed Coes Pond Parks and the historic Stearns Tavern. A reverse 911 blanketed the full 2.5-mile zone. Officers handed flyers with Karen's photo directly to drivers stuck in traffic near the search area. A woman who lived near Coes Pond Beach told a reporter she'd been sitting there at 11 a.m. on August 18th when police helicopters started circling overhead. She said she'd lived in that neighborhood for 14 years and had never seen anything remotely like it. How does someone in flip-flops outrun Homeland Security? 4 days of federal resources, sonar, helicopters, and dogs for one woman on foot in pajamas, and nothing. Police aren't saying where the dogs lost the scent. They aren't saying what the sonar returned. When multiple federal agencies go this quiet about their results, you have to wonder if they're protecting an active lead, or if the nature of what they're searching for has quietly shifted. This is what is keeping people divided right now, because both explanations are internally coherent depending on how you read the facts. The first is a total psychological collapse. 12 years of sitting with other people's worst nightmares finally broke her. Whatever happened in that house triggered a state of shock so complete that she just dissociated, wandered toward the water or into the woods before sunrise, and was already beyond reach before the perimeter was ever established. If she went into Coes Pond, or deep into the brush before the dogs were even deployed, it explains why 4 days of searching has found absolutely nothing. But then look at the footage again. That woman is not stumbling. She is not erratic. Her pace is completely even. And if you've spent 12 years studying how police grids work, sitting on FBI task forces, interviewing officers about crisis response from the inside, you know specific things. You know the window of time you have before the command post realizes you are gone. You know how long it takes for a K-9 unit to deploy after a 911 call. You know where the gaps are in the first hour. Did she use that knowledge to vanish? A 31-year police officer and Army veteran killed in his own home by a sharp object, with his service weapon sitting untouched. A wife already on camera walking away before the 911 call was placed. A confirmed third party inside the house, whose name and role the public has not been given. A joint bankruptcy filed in 2016, behind a nationally recognized public image. A legal status that flipped from missing person to armed and dangerous fugitive, inside 48 hours, on evidence nobody is describing publicly. And a federal dragnet that came up empty. Kurt Solomon is being buried on Wednesday, August 26th, at Our Lady of the Angels Church in Worcester. The man who spent his whole life on Wildwood Avenue will be laid to rest at Worcester County Memorial Park in Paxton. First HELP, the organization Karen built, had to put out a public statement expressing condolences to the Solomon family and distancing itself completely from what is happening. The colleagues who worked alongside her for years in the fight for first responder mental health said publicly that none of this fits the person they knew. Karen Solomon spent over a decade fighting to protect law enforcement families. She was one of their biggest public advocates, and now those exact same agencies are the ones hunting her down. Watch that 12-second doorbell footage one more time. Pajama shorts. Flip-flops. A pace that never changes once. Is that a woman who completely lost control of everything in the minutes before she stepped outside? or someone who knew, with professional certainty, exactly what the next 2 hours were going to look like, and was already ahead of it.